Good morning. What's going on, guys? It's the Money Talk show with Dane, where we talk about real estate and crypto here and how those two asset classes work beautifully together. We have changed our timing of our show with daylight savings, and so this is the time that we'll be doing our show moving forward for the next 6 months. And so we're pumped to have you here. We are doing our absolute best to bring entrepreneurs, real estate people, and help them understand the opportunity of a lifetime, in our opinions, that being crypto over the next few years. There's some insane things happening in the markets over the weekend and particularly today. So we'll talk about all that. We'll talk about all that stuff on the show today. So it'll be a lot of fun. Corey, go ahead and take it away. Uh-oh, we lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha. Well, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're both kind of bugging today. My mic's the cable's a little loose. But Crypto Millionaires with Corey Geary, just super stoked to be here, man, on this incredible journey with some of my closest friends and family. And man, I am so stoked with where we're at in the marketplace. And I know we're going to kind of touch on it right now with the whole banking system and it going down. And it's been one heck of a weekend. And man, it just reassures me every single time something happens like this that we are in the right place, right time. There's no better opportunity, in my opinion, than this right now. And the journey we're on right now is just, I think, can absolutely change the trajectory, not of our lives, but our family, generational down the line as lives, and everyone who is coming on this journey with us. So I just want to bring as many friends and family as I possibly can on this journey. And my goal would be to bring 500 of our friends on this journey of, creating multiple millionaires and maybe even some billionaires. Who knows if we get lucky. But so blessed to be here, man. We got a lot to talk about today. What a weekend. Oh my God.
What a weekend. Oh, we're up above 8 cents on Hex today.
Yes, sir. We just got another $250,000 buy. I get notified every time we get these big buys and sales. It's actually kind of stressful. I should take it off because it will just disrupt my day. Like I'll get the notification of a sale, like a $250,000 of worth of Hex sold. I'm like, oh my God. But I've been getting the notifications for the last few days. In fact, through the weekend, we've had a lot of buys, big buys too.
Here, let's do this. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right.
Jeez.
So here I've got the Hex chart pulled up. In fact, I've got a number of charts pulled up. We're up almost 10% in the last 24 hours on Hex. What I find really interesting, though, is Bitcoin. We're up freaking 17% in the morning opening. You can see markets opening right around here, and the market just goes poof. Let's freaking go.
Yep. So we can touch on the reasoning behind this.
Yes, absolutely.
There is some theory behind this.
There's a lot. So yeah, let's go ahead and start there. So you guys that are tuning into the show, we appreciate you being on. We've got a number of our loyal fan base on. Once again, really appreciate you guys. Juan's on. Love this new time. I can now be on pretty much every day with you guys live. Very cool.
Sweet.
Juan's in our group. Love having Juan along. Juan is great.
I think we're going to see Juan out in Miami for the Hex conference, and then he might even, if I can convince him, get him down to Puerto Rico for a couple of days. He can come hang out and bring the family, and maybe he can convince his wife to move there.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, if you guys want anybody that's watching this show, we're going to go down to Puerto Rico end of May-ish, early June-ish to go nail down all the odds and ends to be able to make the move at the end of this year for us and our families. So if you want to come hang out with us and other Hexkins during that time frame, that's when we'll be there. We'd love to see you.
Would be a lot of fun. And right before it, guys, is the Hex conference in Miami. If you guys are going to that, also hit us up. I'll be out there for that. I figured that's perfect timing. I might as well just stop in Miami and have a layover for 3 days at the Hex conference while I'm heading down to Puerto Rico.
Love it. Harmonic Hexkin says, hope you had a great weekend. You as well. Had a great weekend. All this wild stuff is just opening more doors for Hex.
It does. You're absolutely 100% correct.
Holy cow. Well, so let's go there first. I find it just freaking fascinating I think it was the Moon Carl that's been, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
he's been a hater, right? For a long
time. I don't know if he doesn't like go out of his way to spread FUD about Hex or Richard Hart, but he's definitely had some negative comments in the past about our ecosystem in general. But he had made a comment over the weekend about should I buy Hex, and it's
right.
like, really, bro? So now you're gonna jump on the bandwagon, or are you full of crap? Because you're just this is the kind of guy he is. He's one of those guys who shills and dumps on communities' heads. He's been doing the crypto game for a long time. Maybe he's owned Hex for quite a while now, and now he sees what's going on. Maybe he can get some pumping going into his audience, and then maybe he can dump it on his community's head. Who knows? So be careful with these guys who we just don't know where they're really where the truth lies with some of these guys. And obviously it's good for the ecosystem if we have some of these guys who have big followings to talk about our cryptos and our ecosystem. But man, I don't trust them at all.
No, not at all. In fact, post in the comments, what are your guys' thoughts? So we've got
Moon Carl. Maybe you guys know him better.
Yeah.
We've got
what's the Mason dude's name? I think his name's Mason something or other.
Yeah, he's huge TikTok influencers where a lot of his stuff is at. But he hasn't said I don't think he's come out and said
he said he was neutral.
Hex. He's neutral. Yeah, he's neutral now on Hex. But he did. If you look at he did make content on TikTok way back in the day in 2019, or maybe it was 20, somewhere in there. He made a bunch of content on TikTok about Hex was a scam.
Right.
And now he's kind of flipped the script. It's like, bro, man, you are late to the party, homie.
Late to the party. You've got Ivan on Tech that's been an advocate. He's been really cool. So he's talking about it more and more. He's talking about Pulse Chain. We're seeing it. He's talking about
building a project on Pulse Chain.
I heard that. He mentioned it. Have we seen, I haven't noticed any details around it other than him just mentioning it. Have you?
Nope. It'll be very interesting. He's a dev. Like that's how he got started in crypto, was, writing Solidity and all that kind of stuff. And, then he started doing content and he got famous, being an influencer. But that's why his name is Ivan on Tech, because he is a dev and he understands that stuff. So it'd be really interesting to see what kind of project he'd come up with for our ecosystem. Man, his coin, whatever he'd create in there, would pump hard.
That would be a really interesting one. Carpet ride to be on. Yes,
it would be.
And then you have the Power City guys that did a Twitter Spaces this weekend with the I think it was the Hotbit guys. Is that what they're called?
Over 25,000 people listened to that space.
It's nuts. And honestly, I didn't. There's been the talk with Pulse Chain removing the gatekeeping from Hex, and I haven't felt like that necessarily would come to fruition, but we're seeing it right before our eyes. It is remarkable and has me feeling more and more bullish about Hex, which is really exciting.
Right. Maybe instead of $1.50, we hit $10 on the next one.
Maybe.
I don't want to get too moon boy here, but wouldn't that be insane? A $10 Hex in the next bull run.
Even multiple dollars, like $2. $3,
yeah.
$5,
I don't even care, right? It's like,
right.
Oh,
right. So post in the comments, do you guys feel like the flood or the gatekeeping is coming down? Is this something that you're all seeing as well, or do you feel like we're kind of being gatekept still? Love to know your feedback.
It's also fun to see some of these other guys who basically took a shit on Hex, and they're trying to come back in now. And it's like, bro, just get out of here, dude. Like you spread so much FUD around RH and around Hex, and you went into this other ecosystem, which I don't have nothing against the other ecosystem. I'm involved in it a little bit, but like you completely just fudded everything and took a big old crap on all of us. And now you're trying to come back in and create content and say you're a Hexican and Yeah, you might own Hex, but man, in my opinion, you own Hex, but you're not a Hexakin.
Mm.
There's a difference. There's
Agreed.
a difference. You can own Hex and not be a Hexakin, man.
That being
you're not
said,
one of
I mean,
ours.
some of these freaking guys, if they've got followings, I mean, so this is my opinion on it. I think the more freaking people, the merrier. Even if
I agree, but he's just,
their
I just can't
intentions
stand the guy.
might suck. But can you imagine, like, man, can you imagine if you would have been paying attention to the people that we were paying attention to when we first got into crypto, and they would have mentioned Hex, even if they were planning on dumping it on everybody's heads? Like, you could have gotten in. You could have gotten in rather than just Richard Hart and the few people that were talking about it. I'm for it. I say the more the merrier. You can give them the bird in your mind as we're all watching them spread the word and whatnot, but the more the merrier.
Cord Investor hit it, man. The clowns. Yeah, that's who I'm talking about too, is a freaking clown. Man, he can stay over with his other community. I can't stand that guy.
Yeah. There's a number of them. Red Squirrel says the walls have been gradually coming down for a while. It's speeding up now. Absolutely.
Hey,
I like that. That's how I feel like it feels like it's
true.
Speeding up. It's speeding up a lot leading into the Pulse Chain launch.
Yeah, Red Squirrel, we got your boy coming on Thursday, Stu Man. So it'll be exciting to have him on there, and I'm excited for the whole the Tetra ecosystem just because of your stuff that you create. So I hope you're in there building all your things out and all your tools, and in that way we can just plug and play some of those. It'll be a lot of fun.
Well, what a cool way to generate, if I'm not mistaken, a little extra revenue. If you're somebody like Red Squirrel that's making these,
who's creative, right?
Yeah. In Tetra, you could get a little piece of the action from people.
Why not? You're bringing massive value to the ecosystem.
I think it's cool.
You're going to think of ideas that I cannot think of. That's going to make me extra money, and you go ahead and make yourself some dollars doing it.
Absolutely. He says, "Awesome. Looking forward to you chatting with Stu." Absolutely, that'll be cool. Juan says that he's a good salesman. His wife was already looking at Airbnbs in Puerto Rico. Awesome.
Juan, it'd be great to have you down there, bro. You speak Spanish. You can help us get around on the island. It would be awesome.
That'd be fun. Norbert's on. What's up, Norbert? Great to have you on this morning, man. We've got a good crowd this morning. So let's talk about SVB then. Let's jump into that.
That was fun.
That has been freaking nuts. So over the weekend, I'm sure you guys saw the news. The Silicon Valley Bank went belly up, as well as what's the bank in? There
was three of them: Silvergate Bank, Silicon Valley, and there was one more. There was three of them over the weekend that kind of basically went belly up. I can't remember.
Another SI starts with an SI.
Yeah, I'd have to research it. And if you guys know in the comments, go ahead and comment it so you can jog our memories. But there was three banks. We basically saw a bank run. It's funny because I saw someone post on Twitter. The Simpsons called it, and there was like a Simpsons episode where Bart Simpson's in there and he's spreading the FUD in the line. Yeah, the bank has no more money. And then everyone's beating each other up. And it was really hilarious. So I copied it and I posted it in my YouTube and I posted it on TikTok because I got a good laugh out of it. But it's basically what it was. Everyone freaked out, thinks the bank doesn't have any money because they're going under. And that's also why we saw Signature Bank. Thanks, Andrew. Signature Bank. It's also why we saw USDC lose its peg. Everyone thought, there was no more dollar for dollar because Circle keeps a lot of their money in. I don't know if it was in Signature or in. I think it's Silvergate.
Silicon Valley.
Or is it Silicon?
They were using Silvergate. As far as I understand, they were using Silvergate. They switched over to Silicon Valley, and then Silicon Valley went belly up.
Jeez.
And in fact, it's fascinating. And I'm just parroting the information that we're gathering. I'm neither of us are professional journalists. We're just trying to gather the bits and pieces, same as everybody else. And it appears like Silicon Valley, Silvergate, and Signature Bank, all of these are crypto-friendly banks. Right. And what a lot of people are saying is this is a direct attack on crypto and tech in general, because these banks are not only very open or have been to crypto, but they're big for innovators, for the technology space in general. And I thumbed through a Twitter thread this weekend where the guy talked about, he said, Millennials and Gen Xers, this is the first time in our lives where a financial downturn will actually impact us individually, because we're old enough that it could matter for many of us. And he talked about how if the Fed doesn't go and plug up holes and help, that this could impact our generation for the rest of our lives because they're stifling growth. And it feels like they're trying to chase off crypto. They're trying to chase crypto out of the states is what it largely feels like from what they're doing right now. And so it'll be fascinating to see. In fact, what do you guys think in the comments? Do you feel like the regulators are trying to force crypto out of the states? Are they going to try to make it illegal? What's your thoughts there, Corey? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I think it'd be very incredible. It'd be incredibly hard to make DeFi illegal. They can do what they want with the centralized exchanges, and then be honest with you, some of these centralized exchanges probably do need a little bit of regulatory type action on them, just because, I mean, look at FTX. Although FTX was technically being regulated by whoever he was laundering money for and everything else that we're hearing about. Who knows what really happened there? But we do need something, to put a backstop on some of these evil people who are creating these exchanges and taking people's money. But I don't know how they can really legalize DeFi. Now, obviously, they could make it very difficult for me and you. I've heard where, and this is gonna be great because I'm gonna have him on the. We're gonna have him on the show. His name is Identity Block, and Identity Block really dives deep into the law, and he talks about how in 2024 you might have to be a accredited investor to even get into DeFi. If you live in the United States, what you got to do, you got to be an accredited investor, and you have to go through a broker. Which I don't know how they're going to pull this off. And we'll have to have Identity Block on to talk about this more. And then you have to be a accredited investor, meaning you have a net worth of $1 million, or it's what is it, 200 grand a year you got to make?
I think it's less than that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's in the $100,000 range.
Really? That's not bad then.
I might be wrong though.
No, that's not bad. So that obviously includes, like, guys, if you have real estate and stuff like that, or if you have other assets, if you got some in the stock market or whatever, or if you own a business, and all those things kind of they make up your net worth at the end of the day. But so there's that. It'd be hard, man. I don't believe it's going to turn to be like a tornado cash situation where we're just completely. It's illegal for us to go in there and utilize these protocols, or you get put in jail, right? Like that's how kind of like the tornado cash thing, and the developers in jail for tornado cash. And I can see why they really hate that protocol, because it can be used for money laundering. It can be used to evade taxes. So obviously the government's going to attack that first. They're like, oh my God, this is like the worst thing ever, because they're not going to get their piece of the pie. So I think they're going to do their best to try to keep some crypto going, because you have companies like BlackRock. BlackRock is one of the biggest hedge funds probably in the world. I would say in the world. In any of you guys who are in the real estate, you know who BlackRock is. These guys are probably the biggest buyers in real estate. These guys have just one of the most, or the largest portfolio, I think, out of all the funds. But they're in crypto. If you guys didn't know, they're in crypto right now. They're buying as we're speaking right now. And so they're involved in crypto. And there's a lot of other big institutions and hedge funds and big money that want to get into the space, that want to see regulation come into the space so they can get into the space. And so in some ways, I think some regulation will be good for the space, because it will speed up the adoption rate.
There's something to be said about that.
There is something to be said about that. And so I do think it will be somewhat good for the space depending on the regulations. And I don't know, man. I don't think they can get rid of DeFi completely, even if they legalize it in the United States. Say they legalize Uniswap. Okay, well, man, I'm just going to switch my freaking I'm going to run up a NordVPN, and I'm going to, I'm going to connect there anyways. I mean, I don't know. It'd be hard.
I would leave. I would leave. Like, for me, that would be the breaking point. If they're like, oh, crypto's illegal now, I'd say, well, then it doesn't make sense to be a United States citizen anymore. It just doesn't. Yeah, seriously, because imagine the amount of money, and you guys that are in the chat, imagine the amount of money that we all anticipate potentially making in this next bull run in the Richard Heart ecosystem. If you're sitting on a very significant amount of money in crypto, and
And
they
you couldn't
won't
pull it
let you.
out.
Yeah, and you can't turn that into fiat. And they're like, "Oh, you can't do that here." I give them the middle finger and I keep it moving. And we
I'm
go
with
live.
you on that.
I go
I'm
live with
definitely with
Randy
you
in
on that.
Panama.
Yeah. I wondered, does Puerto Rico have to, like, Puerto Rico's its own country, even though it's United States territory. And this would be a question for like Identity Block when he comes on too, because he also lives in Puerto Rico. I'm wondering how much of the law that like, they have to follow. Like, if the United States goes and pushes this whole, like, say they legalize crypto together, I guess. Does Puerto Rico have to follow all that? Like, can I use a bank out in Puerto Rico to pull out money? I mean, I'm wondering how that would work.
Well, the banks out there, by the sounds of it, aren't that crypto friendly as it is. In Puerto
Or
Rico,
not?
are not.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It'll be
That'd
interesting.
be. Are you sure? There's sure a lot of crypto guys down there. That'd be really shocking to me. Then.
Well, remember when we did the little Hex meetup, and Rob was talking about how they'd shut down his bank when he tried to turn his crypto into fiat, and he'd send it over, and they'd shut down a couple of his banks that he had out there, his accounts.
Oh, was it him? Okay.
So
yeah,
it's just a matter of figuring it out. So I don't have any concerns of them wanting to make the whole space illegal. But it feels like but you don't have to make something illegal to impact it very strongly. So for instance, it feels in a lot of respects to me like we're watching a mafia movie, and the mafia is out there, and they go and they're fronting to the people in their area and saying like, "Hey, you can't buy drugs from these guys. You buy drugs from us." And everybody else knows, hey, like, we don't buy drugs from anybody else but the mafia. And it feels like the government's doing the same thing with the banking system. Hey, if you want to go touch crypto, you see what that looks like for these guys. I don't know if you want to be doing that with your bank. And so I don't know, man. It'll be interesting, but there will always be a way, in my opinion. It's the same thing as when they went and they made torrenting illegal with Napster and LimeWire and all that stuff. It's never been more available to download whatever you wanted than it is today. So something to be said there. So we're talking about both ends of the spectrum here. I want to make sure that we nail down the point, though, that Corey and I couldn't be more bullish on crypto. We're not particularly concerned.
Here's another thing to look at.
In a way.
Here's another thing to consider too, is that the world is the world, the earth, basically every country in the entire earth is for the most part, on the dollar standard, right? Like the United States dollar is like the world currency in many countries, many ways. I mean, it's just how it is, right? If you took crypto completely out of the equation, there is a lot of economic energy that's revolving around the stable coin and the dollar. I would say the cryptocurrency ecosystem is based around the dollar, the world standard. And then if you took crypto away and you took the dollar out of that equation, I don't think the United States wants that. They want to have that control.
I agree. And you don't want to give that power away. People,
what are you going to do? Yeah,
Dubai and Panama.
Crypto goes on the euro or something, right? And then like they lose all that power inside the space. Like right now, it's on the dollar standard. It really is, and I just don't see how they would let that go. I don't know. And I could be wrong, but
yeah. Red Squirrel makes a good point. This is what I like about Panama. Panama has a bank that foreigners can use to off ramp, right? So if shit hits the fan, you know where to go.
Right.
Worst comes to worst.
Maybe we live in Puerto Rico when we off ramp in Panama.
Do your own due diligence. Make your own decisions. Right. We're not recommending anything. You got to make your own choice.
We got to get Identity Block on this show, man. He's guys, been talking to him. He wasn't to come on tomorrow, but he has some other plans come up, but we're going to try to have him on either this week or next week. And we're going to do a long show. We're going to dive deep into not only Puerto Rico, because he does live out there and he does the whole Puerto Rico thing, so we can dive deep on that. But then he's also a tax guy. So like we can really go into taxes, and then we can really go into all these laws. He has got his thumb on the pulse when it comes to laws that are getting created around cryptocurrency. And a lot of people in our community, unfortunately, think he's a fudster, and they kick him out of chat rooms, and I see people hate on him all the time. But in my opinion, he's a truth teller, and he's just trying to, protect his bags, obviously, from the government making stuff legal and more harder to get into. So he's very smart dude, and so I can't wait to have him on the show. And I'm gonna keep poking at him until we get him on.
Right. Identity Block has been discussing the possibility of accredited investor for over a year. Originally feasible, though now plausible. Next step will be moving to most likely post 2024. It's interesting. I tell you, it's very interesting. Yeah. And in fact, I found myself, so my wife and I, we were talking this whole weekend. I was trying to help her understand what was going on with the banks and the Fed and all that type of stuff. And she said, aren't you scared for crypto? Aren't you scared where it's going? And I said, honestly, I feel more sure about what we're doing and what we're building than I ever have, period. And then the markets open up this morning and boo, off we go to the races. And I'm like, let's freaking go. Oh gosh, it feels good.
Well, that's because the market is anticipating the money printers to be turned back on.
Yeah, well, the Fed said it, so let's talk about that next.
Well, they said it, but they didn't say specifically.
Let's talk about the solution that they proposed, that they have proposed. Go ahead and give us your.
They're gonna plug the hole up. They're gonna backstop the banks, and they're gonna bail them out. They're gonna money print the money needed to so your average person didn't lose any money in this. They're gonna save the banks, right? Which is fine. That's great. Everything's FDIC insured, even though that insurance only goes up to like $150K. But I think the Fed said they're going to bail everybody out inside this whole little crash that we're having.
And specifically to clarify, so they said
it's billions.
Yeah, they said that they would backstop the depositors, but the shareholders and the management of the banks would not be protected. So what that means is going to be really interesting to see. And I think the move is fascinating because you could plug a hole, so to speak, but also not promote banks acting in more risky ways, which theoretically is, that's good for everybody in my opinion. So that's what it appears like, the information that's coming out over the weekend.
But it's very possible that they print money just to plug the holes, if you will, in this situation, right? To patch it up. You print enough money for this, but then you still don't leave the money printers on, and you raise interest rates to combat the inflation. And Richard Hart was talking about this on Twitter, how the Fed could continue to fight inflation, even though they're printing money to plug the backstop the banks, which would make the inflation harder to control because now they're printing money to fix this problem, but then they're going to have to raise the rates to try to combat the inflation, which is kind of counterintuitive, meaning they're going to have to raise the rates even higher for longer if that's what they try to do. Or they could just completely raise the debt ceiling and recreate the monetary policy altogether and turning money printers back on. One of those two things is probably going to happen here. It'll be interesting.
And I find it funny. So let me share my screen, because if in the general public, it blows my mind how people just go along believing that everything is cool and there's no issues. All right. So here is the statement from the Federal Reserve. I'm going to just highlight it here really quick. It said, after receiving a recommendation from the boards of the FDIC and the Federal Reserve and consulting with the president, Secretary Yellen approved actions enabling the FDIC to complete its resolution of Silicon Valley Bank, Santa Clara, California, in a manner that fully protects all depositors. Depositors will have access to all of their money starting Monday, today. No losses associated with the resolution of Silicon Valley Bank will be borne by the taxpayer. Apparently, they don't consider inflation a thing that's borne by the taxpayers. It just blows my mind.
And it couldn't be
so blatant. Say stuff like this.
I know,
a bunch of liars.
Couldn't be so wrong. It's a slap to the face.
Yep, and then they talk also about Signature Bank. We're announcing a similar systematic risk exception for Signature Bank, New York, which was closed today by its state chartering authority. All depositors of this institution will be made whole. As with the resolution of Silicon Valley Bank, no losses will be borne by the taxpayer. Shareholders and certain unsecured debt holders will not be protected. Senior management has also been removed. Any losses to the deposit insurance fund to support uninsured depositors will be recovered by special assessment on banks as required by law. So that's an interesting thing. Where does that put banks if they're going to have an additional assessment to be able to pay for things of this nature? And then they say, finally, the Reserve Board on Sunday announced it will make available additional funding to eligible depository institutions to help assure banks have the ability to meet the needs of all their depositors. So money printers go burr, and they make this additional funding available to banking institutions. So with the zombie virus that we had, the money went to a lot of the money anyways went to retail, which was fascinating to watch. And you see it all flood. In fact, I think it was a Richard Hart thing. He was talking about the money needs a place to go to beat inflation. And so historically, you see it go to the stock market, and the stock market can absorb trillions of dollars. Now, the crypto market is much smaller, so it can't absorb as much money flooding in. But that's where we see the money flow go also, because people need to find ways to beat inflation. And so I think it's a matter of time until we see more and more money printing, and that works out well for all of us that are positioned properly. Now, it breaks my heart because it's always the people that have no money and have no clue about what's going on that are harmed the most. And so it's not a laughing matter to see banks go down. It's not a laughing matter to see people harmed. A lot of these people were chanting, it's great to see these CEOs and people like that go out of business and get destroyed. And if you haven't felt the pain of significant financial setbacks in your life, I would reassess your feelings. If you're feeling that way, regardless of how much money someone may have. If you get kicked in the stomach, that hurts.
Sucks.
It sucks.
We've been there.
We have been there, and it is brutal. Yes.
Yeah, it sucks. You're right. The little guys who get affected the most. And that's another problem I have with some of this regulation you're talking about, maybe with the accredited investor, where the accredited investor, Dane, a lot of our buddies and would still fly under the radar because we're accredited with our real estate and stuff like that. But what about the guy who wants to invest $5,000 over the course of a year, who makes $40,000 a year at his job, and he wants to he'll miss out on those 1,000Xs. How many of those guys happened in the Hex community back in 2019 who only put $1,000 in and saw just explosive gains? I'm talking about millions of dollars, right? And you wouldn't have these stories anymore of those guys if they push out, which I think is freaking bullshit. Give the little guy a chance,
right?
An opportunity to change his and his family's life. And by you say, I hate that. You say, oh, you have to have $1 million to invest. Well, this guy who has $1 million, he doesn't need, he needs some opportunities, sure. But the guy who has only 20 grand in his bank or 10 grand in his bank needs the opportunity more, in my opinion, than the guy who has $1 million. That's the part that really burns me up a little bit. And even
crypto is such a unique opportunity in that respect. If it's shut down to the normal everyday person, that is a shame.
Exactly. And that's what really this strikes my nerve right there. Even though most of us and our friends are going to be fine, but come on, man, it's not about that. We need the little guy. We need an opportunity for him. We need, it really burns me up.
We've seen it in real estate, where traditionally to go and invest in real estate as a more passive person, you've got to be an accredited investor.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's been more recent is some of these funds have come about where they've been able to structure in such a way that they could go raise money from anybody. Now that's an SEC thing, and you have to have the right structure, and there's some more hoops to jump through. But I imagine you could probably do something like that. But once again, then you're going against the tenets of crypto and holding your own keys and being in control of your own finances, being your own bank. And you lose that power. So it'll be interesting. It is incredible time. So once again, when we talk about at the beginning of the show how we feel like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, it legitimately might be the last bull run for everyday people to be able to get a hold of and really maximize an opportunity, as opposed to thinking, hey, there will always be a chance next bull cycle. There may not be for certain people. And
I just don't know if we're always going to see the 1000Xs or even the 100Xs. I mean, the 100Xs, I think crypto, if we get the crazy regulation, which will also allow mass adoption, but like, I think it's going to end up being like the stock market, man, where like you're happy to get a 20% gain and then you're down 10% of your money. And then, oh, wow, we got a 30%. You know, I think we're going to see that kind of take place in the cryptocurrency market, where a bear market in the stock market is 40% down. That's like a recession.
Right.
You know what I mean? A bear market, like almost recession territory, is 40% off its high. And where crypto, we're like 40%, bro. Like get hold my beer.
Over the weekend.
Like, if I drank, I'd be like, hold my beer. I can do that. I can do that at a night in crypto. It's funny, but the stock market, man, it's like that's the end of the world. But I feel like that could be it for how crypto, where you still could make some money in it, but it's gonna be like the stock market. It's gonna really even out. And
agreed.
So this could be our last opportunity. Maybe. I hope not. I hope we got 2 more bull runs in us.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And with the whole Shemitah cycle, the next Shemitah would put us like at the top of not this bull run, but the second one. And
that's correct.
That'll be interesting to see how all that pans out too.
And if you guys want to know a little bit more about the Shemitah cycles and how that works, watch the beginning of Randy Hilarski's YouTube. He has a whole series of I think it was 30 days or maybe even 40 days, I can't remember, where he talks about everything Shemitah and Jubilee, which is, we're in the Jubilee year right now. We're in Jubilee year right now, and it ends in September, which is kind of remarkable because that could be when we're starting to really go up. And the next cycle is like Dane said, that is going to be 2029 or whatever that is. The next bull market, and so we'll see. It'll be interesting how it all plays out.
It will be. Bird Dog, you're speaking my language. I would love to go to lunch. So yeah, shoot me a message on Twitter. We go out to lunch. Love to chat with you about the group. And in fact, if any of you guys are local, I'm in Utah, Corey's in Phoenix. If you guys ever want to meet up, we love to do things like that. So feel free to reach out to us. Twitter is probably the best place to DM us. So you can find us there. Corey is just Corey Geary, and you can find me Money Talk with Dane or Money Talk _ Dane. You can find it in my link tree here that's posted on my name. So love to connect. That'd be great. Let's see. So the temporary flight to altcoins from stables is something that may not have been predicted by anyone. If they did, they would be shouted down as being fudders. Interesting. Absolutely. I didn't see anybody talking about this. Nobody.
And I feel like actually our friend Sammy touched on this. I feel like the faith and confidence in BTC and ETH, or people seeing, not the faith and confidence, people seeing the actual value and gains, the faith and confidence in that, in the gains that you get out of BTC and ETH, is starting to dissipate, right? And it's starting to go more into the altcoins. And we just saw that. We just saw that through this, where everyone felt like USDC could go to zero. What do you do with your money? Well, shit, it goes into altcoins. It didn't go into BTC or ETH. So it's very interesting to see that happen in real life. It didn't happen. USDC is fine. It didn't go to zero, but people panicked. And what happened when they panicked? It was interesting.
Very interesting. I love this opinion. There we go. We tend to talk about the positives. Any opposing, challenging views tend to get shouted down. We should all feel comfortable to discuss the pros and cons of all areas of crypto.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
fun to be Moon Boy all the time, but man, it's just not real life.
No, it is not. CBDC narrative is what this all sounds like. Feds look like
Sure,
heroes.
absolutely.
In fact, Molly had retweeted a really interesting tweet. I think it was last night that I saw, where somebody was talking about how this was one of the plays by market makers to be able to get all of the liquidate all the shorts that people had placed over the weekend. You get the market to pump before a big falling out of the bottom. I mean, we've been waiting in our group. We've been waiting for a little bit of a pullback, especially in Hex. Like Hex just hasn't had a really strong pullback since we started taking off a few months ago, and we've been anticipating a better opportunity.
I
And
just
it
don't
just
think we're going to see it until after
I
V3.
don't either.
Until V3 comes. We might, and that's still speculation. And I don't even know. Like, I think like if V3 comes and say V3 comes and a month later mainnet comes, I don't think there'll be any pullback. But like V3 comes and maybe just 3 months, people start getting tired. They start getting antsy. Traders are traders. They have paper hands. You might see that pullback,
Yeah.
But
in fact, let's talk. We'll end the show on that note. Let's do one more question here. Ruben's on. What's up, Ruben? Ruben's in our group. Ruben's excellent. I'm happy to have you on. Hex Monkey's on.
Hey, Hex Monkey, you going to the Hex conference? I actually met Hex Monkey the very first time at the very first Hex conference I went to was in Vegas at Naga Bo's mansion party.
Oh, cool.
Out by the pool. Yeah, he's one of the first Hexicans I met. I was like, we had a good conversation. So
very cool. Great question here. Do you guys feel like the government has stemmed the tide, or do you feel like there may be some more skeletons to be uncovered? Bear market.
Always more skeletons.
Bump in the yeah. But I don't know, man. So it has me more and more bullish because we see. So that being said, we're still like a full year from the Bitcoin halving.
And,
so
and every time
for more pain in the market.
Historically, Doc Clover, every time, or Doc Clover, I always get, I think Randy always gets wrong too. Every time we have a pivot, when the Fed makes a pivot and starts decreasing interest rates, not a pivot meaning when they hold and they stop raising, a pivot meaning they're starting to decrease. That is when we see the real crash happen. It's always after. It's never before or during. So I still feel like there's definitely another big bump in the road to come. Even if the Fed were to go, money printer go burr, and we stop raising interest rates, I still think we have another. And this is for legacy. I'm not talking about so much about crypto. This is for legacy that I'm talking about. So it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be. All right, let's talk about V3 updates. Richard has been all over Twitter over feels like the last week or so, and been giving excellent updates. The last one that he gave, or the last one for V3 anyways, he indicated that that Richard and his team have they've updated. Aragon is syncing properly. Everything is updated and synced. They're just waiting for the block explorers to I think it's fully sync is what we're waiting for. Is that right, Corey?
Yeah, Aragon's fully synced now. Meaning if that's fully synced, then all the clients are synced. Right. And so it's running, I guarantee you, V3, everything is running. They're waiting for the indexing. There was still indexing to be done, but they don't need full indexing to launch V3. And if you guys recall, I don't know if you remember when B2B came out, even though it was a different fork, it was BSC chain, but it some of the stuff is the same. We were still in the middle of indexing when he launched that testnet, and so he could be indexing the chain still and launch V3 just fine. I think they're just going through one last minute, one last basically let's beat on it type thing. All the devs, give it everything you got, throw the kitchen sink at it before we give it to our community. I think that's what he's doing right now. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if it launches this week. Yeah, don't hold me to it.
You want to put a line in the sand and say that V3 probably this week?
Yeah, I think V3 by Friday.
I think so too. I think we see it this week.
I think V3 by Friday. It's going to happen while we're sleeping here in the United States, guys. If you're in the U.S., Richard Hart, he is on different hours than us. I would anticipate waking up in the morning, 6 a.m, and seeing a bunch of buy notifications for Hex. And then like I'll be like, oh, what's going on? And then Hex will be like 12 cents, and then V3 will be out. I'm like, oh,
Right.
okay.
Right. I like it. I like it. Well, cool, guys. Like we said earlier, if you missed it earlier in the show, these are the times we're going to be doing the show moving forward with the time change. It'll be 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 9 a.m. Arizona,
PST.
whatever Arizona is considered now.
Yeah, and for now, I mean, and obviously we're going to be in Puerto Rico and that whole stuff. So, I mean, stuff can change while we're out there too. Who knows? Yeah. I don't know what time is it Puerto Rico right now.
They're 3 hours ahead of Mountain Time, 4 hours ahead of you now. So.
It wouldn't even be a morning show no more. It'd be an afternoon show.
Yeah, we might have to even
if we kept the time the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be an afternoon show.
Right. So cool, guys. Appreciate you being on here. Once again, if you have an interesting story to tell or a background or some sort of wealth of knowledge and you want to help onboard and talk to people in your community, you want to come on the show, we'd love to host you. We'd love to hear those stories and talk about what's going on in your neck of the woods and your expertise. So feel free to reach out to us. We had Corey, an investor, on before. If you guys didn't see that show, that was an excellent one where we talked about how he's really making the bridge between the music community and crypto. That was cool. We want to have more stuff like that. So if you have an expertise or an interest and you can come in and share and provide value, we're super open to that. Love to have you on the show.
And before you hop off, Hex Monkey, I would love to have you on the show. You're an OG Hexican. You've been in the game for a long time. So let me know if you want to hop on. We'd love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, guys. Have a great week. Keep paying attention to those price charts. It is going to be a wild ride this week.
It'll be fun.
So it'll be fun. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.